morning, everyone. What's up?
Good morning.
You guys can unmute for a second because I want a little bit of participation. Look at our room. What happened last week? Oh, Scott, Miriam, is it Yusuf?
Yusuf, yeah.
Yusuf,
Yusuf, whatever.
you guys are the kings of your market center right now.
I think
Killing it.
people
And
still
here's
think it's
what's
11
so,
o'clock.
what's that?
I think people think it's 11 o'clock, not 10:30.
Man, we sent out, did you guys get the email where I said we were starting at 10:30 and we'd open it up at 10:15? Did you guys, anybody get that or see
Yeah.
it?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
I
got
know.
it.
We're busy. And this
Brad,
Friday, I already have a commitment at 11:30 every single Friday before we set this up. So I hate having one day where we're half an hour early, but also the good news is everybody gets their Friday back a half an hour early. And we're only on session 4. So, you know, at least by session 9, we'll all remember, oh yeah, Friday's 10:30, right?
Yeah.
So we're only 25% way through right now. I'm sorry, Yusuf, you were going to say something.
yeah, I was saying I couldn't join Wednesday. What kind of script did they practice?
Yeah, actually, that's one of the, well, and I'll tell you what, we got about 1 minute because we have so much content today that we definitely need to jump into it right away. But was anybody there? You guys can unmute yourself because I've got a little bit of participation here I want to ask, and you guys might jump in just for a minute. But was anybody there on Wednesday, and how did it go? If you can do that in a minute or less.
A meeting, but we were talking about circle prospecting. We're talking about using calls to to get a farm and to plow your farm and raise some vegetables. We're talking about the 8x8. We're talking about 36 touch. We were talking about reconnecting with your Mets or with the people that you know. I know there's a couple other things, but they're not coming to me right now.
No, that's cool. Thank you so much for sharing, Scott, because here's the deal. That was 3 sessions, okay? We got 9 sessions in Spark. We got 9 sessions in Elements. That was 3 sessions. How many of you right now just went, what the heck? We've already covered that much stuff? That's a lot of stuff. And here's the thing, we're building on this. And one of the things that the way I love to share and teach is to help you realize that you're not going to master this going through Ignite this first time. In fact, this time, and if you stick with this and take it again, and you just make that commitment every 3 days for 1 hour, it is on your calendar like it's a $1 million listing appointment. Well, for you guys, it's a $5 million listing appointment, right? I don't even know what a $1 million listing appointment looks like. I can't even sell a $500,000 house in my market and get into the luxury division because I have to sell 2 $500,000 homes in a 1 or 2 year period. And I can sell them for $490 and below all day long. We don't have over 500 here. Welcome to my crappy world, right? So I have to sell 100 homes a year to make about a quarter of what you guys have the opportunity to make at 100 sales a year. And it's a blessing in disguise because you'll find that the way we're teaching this material is showing you that anyone can do 100 sales a year. It does not matter what your price point is. You know, higher price points don't, stay in their house 30 years. They still move every 5, 7, and as you guys have determined, 10 years, right? So everybody's still moving. So what I did was I realized it's about the quantity. I didn't get 100 sales a year because I needed to make more money. I've got 100 sales a year and I can come right there in New Jersey. I can plop down and in 1 year, I'll be doing 100 sales a year there. But kids keep you planted. Community keeps you planted. I mean, I don't even have any mountains. I don't even have any palm trees in Kansas City, right? We have nothing. It's the Midwest. So anyway, here's the fun thing about this is that you're not going to master it on this first time around. You're not going to master it on the second time around, but it is to have and I should say, and it's to have these conversations over and over and over, and have that call again and again and again, and hear the material over and over, right? So today's the database stuff, and we're going to jump right in because I got a lot of stuff. Unless you have right now, if you have anything urgent that you need to ask me or that you think is critically important for you to be able to follow along today and might help somebody else in the class. Anybody got anything that's just pressing? Okay, here's a cool thing. How many of you have gotten something from me in the last couple days or so? So here's what's cool. When we're doing database marketing and we're doing follow-up, you guys are starting to experience what I actually do in my marketplace with real people. I work on 5 connections a day, right? So like right now, I'm looking at the video screen, and what's so different from the beginning of the week on Monday to today, man, I know Scott. Scott, I've got your picture in the database. Yusuf, I've got your picture in my database. I know who you got. I feel like I'm connected to you, and hopefully you feel like you're a little connected to me. And like I said, all of you, I've got your pictures in the database. I got your address if you didn't give it to me. When you use that link to say, I want to follow up through the class, and then I said, you're going to experience the drip plan. So how many of you got the first letter that just kind of shares, hey, I'm setting this up to where you can share and copy some of my 8x8 stuff, right? Now, if you haven't gotten that, how many of you have? Well, I'm not.
I tried the link and it didn't work.
It really, that's interesting.
Same over here. I tried multiple times.
Okay, I thought it was just me. But I did send you an email and say, add me.
Yep, and you're going to get in if you do that too. So I'm trying to find my link to, if anybody has it handy and wants to throw it in the chat. Oh, here it is. So here's what this link is. Let me just explain what it is, because we are talking about the database today. And I want to make sure that this is not confusing for you guys. Listen, here's the thing. We're going to talk just a little bit about command. We're talking more about the principles of the database, even though there's command stuff that you're using every day. People ask me all the time, what database are you using? What database is the best one? There isn't one. They all suck. You're going to hate every database you ever have for the rest of your life. Welcome to my world. I'm on database 14, and I've hated all 14 of them, right? However, there's one layer that I want you to always keep in mind, or I say the filter to put it through whenever you think of database. I need to capture my people, get the name, address, phone number, that stuff in the database. And then I need to start a reminder drip plan. If your database does that, you're already going to double or triple your business. Now, like, for example, the link that you're getting is top producer. It's not command. Man, I have got thousands and thousands of plans running on thousands and thousands of people. So as command is rolling out and it's getting better every day, I use it every single day to add people into it, to figure out what it won't do, right? Just tried to search for an agent on the referral network. His name's right there, but I can't connect with him. And he's got a referral coming to me. I don't know why it doesn't work. I just take a picture of the screenshot of it not working. And then down in the bottom right corner, you can submit feedback, and it allows you to attach a picture and send it to them. And so using it every day is how it's going to get better. And here's the important part. No matter what database you're using, if you don't have a database, I'm telling you, command's your database, right? If I didn't have anybody on a plan and I know what I know today, I would start in the one I'm going to probably be using for the rest of my career that's going to tie everything else together. But we're not going to get distracted on all the details about command. The details are done by using it every single day. I hope everybody's listening to this and really listening. If you don't have a database that you use every day, then start using command every single day and adding your 5 people in. So one of the things I wanted to remind people about what Spark is about is it's about getting your first appointment and getting, within 2 weeks, and setting them up for signing their first contract in the first 30 days. So here's how I want to help you hold yourself accountable with your boots on the ground in your office with your situation. I mean, put a piece of paper that says 2 appointments and get their first appointment within 2 weeks. one appointment. If you've already gotten the last 2 weeks, you're done. And to set them up for signing their first contract in 30 days. So if you don't have a buyer's agency signed since we started this about 2 weeks ago, and or a listing signed, then put on a piece of paper and put it right in front of you when you walk in your office, listing signed or buyer's agency signed in the next 15 days, right? So that's what you've got to work on. So if you're not there yet, it just means that you're probably not feeding your database or connecting with 5 people a day. You're not writing 5 handwritten notes a day, which we've talked about in the past. But guys, every single person you come in contact with today gets a handwritten note from you. You're going to figure out their address and you're going to add them to your database. When you use command every single day, it will only take you probably a month if you use it every day, not a couple days and then skip 5 days. And then maybe do it next week, maybe not. You can't master it that way. But if you use it every day for the next 30 days, I am telling you, you are probably one of the most educated people on command in your office. Does that all make sense? So today, let me get in here to get going with my slides here so we can rip through this stuff. And you guys, again, just try to jump in between. I'll hear you. I'll hear your voice and jump over. Oh, I got to share the screen, don't I? Just a minor technical issue. All right, so you guys can follow along in the book. So remember, for Ignite, the objective is to grow our business. And today we're talking about the lead generating for sellers and buyers, because in the database, by getting people in your database every day, you already all know that 20% of the population is moving. Well, actually, we determined it was 10% of your database is moving every year. So real quick, if you know the number of contacts in your database, if you have a database, right? If you don't have one and you're not using one right now and you're keeping everybody's names and numbers on a slip of paper, then that really does need to change today. You need to take every piece of paper off your desk today, or at least through the weekend before Monday. Every name and every number laying on a piece of paper on your desk gets into command. Keep it simple. You don't know, well, I don't know, what am I doing when I put them in command? Doesn't matter. Put their name, their address, whatever information you have in command. And if you have to put an email in it, that does cause a struggle, because I'm actually the one telling you you don't need email, right? So if you don't have an email for them yet, you're going to get it, but you might just create none_1@noemail.com. The system won't know that it's not a real email. And then none_2@email.com or at noemail.com. And then tomorrow when you add 5 people and you try and put none1@noemail.com, it'll say that's a duplicate record. Then you just know you're farther down the line. I don't care if it's none10,000@noemail.com. You're not going to have 1,000 people that you're adding in the database with no email. We already talked about fastpeoplesearch.com has some emails in there. Throw in one of those. If the email is rejected, it's rejected. But at least when you pick up the phone and call them to get their address, if you don't have it, then you can verify their email address, or shoot an email out directly from your regular email and just say, hey, it's Scott, just touching base. How you doing? You know, something like that, and see if it kicks back as dead. Everybody follow me on this? Just try not to get caught up in the details, and definitely don't not do it because you hit a road bump. Just feed every day and figure out a way to trick the system into just letting you get past that first step. That's the best tip I can give you today. All right. Like I said, we got a lot of stuff to cover today, so I'm going to run through it. Absolutely try to stop me if you can. If not, we're going to stop at the end and definitely write down anything that's popping in your head that you need to ask a question out. Write it on a piece of paper so you don't forget. All right, so what is a database? What is a database? Why do you use a database? And how do you develop your database? Does anybody just want to share real quick, and look for your unmute button right now, if you can share what you think a database, what is a database? Anybody want to jump in?
A list of people, names, numbers, and addresses.
Awesome.
And emails.
Awesome. So yeah, let me
Of
explain something.
everything and everybody that you know.
Well, yes,
And
that
don't
is that you're listening. You're paying attention in class. Every single person you meet from this day forward is going in your database. Now, let me distinguish a couple different things. If you've been around for a while, you got a little age on you, you probably remember this card looking thing on a spin roll dial, and you could spin it and it would have tabs. It was called a Rolodex, right? So a Rolodex was people's names, numbers, and it was if in the MREA, it's like the Gary Keller card, the box, the what do you call it? Something in a box.
Index card.
Yeah,
box.
he had index cards in that box, and he would just set it on the days, right? Gary in the box or something like that is what they call it in MREA. So that's a Rolodex. Then you have a database. A database is a thing that holds data. Name, address, phone number, when they moved last, whatever the data is, the last sale price, the whatever, it's a database. Here's how I want you guys to think about your database from now on. And whenever somebody says database, I hope you can flip and just say to yourself, contact management system. Contact management system. In fact, write that down on your page, whatever page in the book we've got on this database. It's a CMS. Have you ever heard of that? CMS, contact management database. So the difference between a database or like say Outlook, a lot of people use Outlook as their database. That's just data. It is not really telling you when to call them next or sending out anything in between or reminding you to do anything. Command has the campaigns and action plans, and that's a management system to manage your follow-up so that nobody gets lost in there. Once I start a series of events and the very last step of that event says, this event has ended, you must start another one now or say goodbye to this lead forever. Because at the end of the year, guys, if you're doing 5 people a day, 5 days a week, 100 people a month, 1,200 people a year, and you stick to that plan, like that is the most important thing you can do in real estate, is be an information collector. Don't worry about being a real estate agent. You're going to be a real estate agent just fine, because when somebody says they want to buy or they want to sell, you will know exactly what to do, whether you know the scripts or not. And you're working through the scripts to get better and to be more efficient. But I'm telling you, everybody on this call right now, I don't need to give you a script on what to do when they say, hey, we are thinking about selling. Can you come over and tell us what our house is worth? There's one script for that. What is it? Yes, I'll be there in a minute, right? So the database contact management system is once they go in, that campaign will always make sure they never, ever, ever do not hear your voice. Never, ever, you'll never, ever lose them in the database. So it's a contact management system is what we're actually building. It becomes a living record of your business relationships. It nurtures and manages the relationships. When you do those two things, guys, we've already talked this number, and I'm going to keep talking about it. We've already talked about this number. It is 1,000 people in your database moving every 10 years is 100 sales. So if you did 5 a day, every day, 5 days a week, and you screwed up 2 whole months, 8 weeks, 200 people, you're still at 1,000 people over the year, right? If you really screw up and you only put in 1 or 2 names every day or 5 names every couple days a week, you're still going to have 500 or 600 people in there. And if you're doing it right, like we talk about, like the real true 8x8 and 36 touch that runs, you're going to have 50 sales. You have to. They're moving. The only reason they won is because you skipped the phone call, skipped the personal touch, and you didn't nurture that relationship. An email is not going to nurture your relationship. So think of it this way. Every person you meet from this day forward, they're going to always hear from you, and you need to add the personal touch back in. Don't make it overwhelming. Like you do not need to write them a personal note every month. You do not need to really call them every month. Now, if you're at the very beginning of your career, I will tell you that if you have a phone call in place of buying a stamp and having that invested money up front on mailing something to them, The phone call has a 10 times effect of a postcard that shows up in the mail. I can tell you that. So if you have time, you can do way more personal touches and you're going to blow your business up way faster. Just remember, you don't have to call about real estate. We're nurturing the relationship. Just think of it as like 7 phone calls or personal one-on-one in front of each other, 7 of those things mixed up to really be in relationship, right? When people get married, a lot of them go on dates or date for years, right? They meet up 300 days out of the year as on dates and seeing each other every day. When they're dating, they might even be living together. That might be 360 days a year. I don't know where they go the other 5, but you get what I'm saying? You're building a relationship of trust and like and everything else. So you got to get the personal touch back in there, and you cannot skip it. You can't skip it, right? So, okay, keep moving here. And then what happens is when you do that, your pipeline is packed. And that's what we're talking about today is the pipeline. The pipeline is a longer way to get business. And we'll say a little bit more about that in a minute. However, that pipeline, once it starts kicking out and you've got 1,200 people in there, you might miss half or more of those 100 this first year. But by next year, when you add another 1,200, now you've got 2,400 people that you have personally connected with. You've got all their information. You've written them a handwritten note, and now you've called them several times throughout the last year and a half, right? So now I got another 120 people moving on the second year. However, on the first 1,200 people, the 120 people already moved. We either got them or we didn't. But there's another 120 people coming through the pipeline that are absolutely moving. Every 10 years, they're moving. Unless they're staying for 20, then it's 60 people. Hey, I'll take that too, right? So you're going to have 120, the second round of 120 people from the first 1,200 people. Now you've got 120 more people that are absolutely moving, according to what we all verified, right? Out of the next batch of 1,200. Let's go to year 3. Now you got 3,600 people in your database. Guys, there are over 360 opportunities that are absolutely happening in your database. And we're going to show that a little bit later. So what it does is it gives you predictable business, and it frees you up to now deliver a great level of service to your clients, right? So what is a database? What is the purpose of your database? What makes your database valuable? So that actually, I might just open this up for anybody that wants to jump in. What makes a database really truly valuable? Or the other question, what is the purpose of your database?
Organization.
Organization, absolutely. Guys, listen. I'm in the database every single day. I'm a high I, if you haven't figured it out. Woo, I'm all over the place having fun. So hopefully the energy is good and I can keep you plugged in. But for the D's, I mean, hang with me. Sometimes you're like, okay, get to it, right? Hey, I'm helping you understand, but I'm a high I. I can't help that. And I love teaching this material. I talk to strangers. I will walk up to anybody and just start a conversation. So I want to help you understand that I meet people and have connections every single day. A lot more than 5. Not everybody gets in my database. Not everybody I meet gets in there. However, I'm telling you, at the end of the day, when the dust settles, if I didn't capture them and get them in my database while it was happening, because I met so many people that day, like who did I really connect with that is a potential buyer or seller or owns their home or said something about real estate? Man, I got to get those people in during the day. I'm not going to remember them at the end of the day. I mean, if you can carry a notebook around and every single Tom, Dick, and Harry that you meet, you write their name down in the notebook, and then you come back, you put it in your master list, right? Master list. And then you go see if you've already got them in your phone, or are they already in your database, or, wherever they Facebook. Oh, we're already friends on Facebook. Now I start filling in the missing information, the address and the phone number. So even though I just bumped into them, now I've got their contact information. Now I can pick up the phone and it's an easy connect call. It's like, man, it was so great bumping into you the other day at Home Depot. So I just want to touch base and say, hey, how is everything going? Because you may not have talked all about their family and whatever. You guys just kind of bumped into each other, whatever. So now I've got an on purpose reason to drop the note in the mail. And now we're moving into the relationship. And that's a nurture. So if you had bumped into them at Home Depot and they said, oh my gosh, it's crazy we're bumping into you, we're thinking about selling. It's like, oh, crazy. That's why I went here instead of Lowe's. I don't even know why. I turned and came in here. It was to see you today. That's what I do is I sell real estate every day. Weird. There's no coincidences, right? I mean, just having fun, right? But if they're going to say that while you're in Home Depot, you're like, great, when do you want me to come over? I'll pull up the values and see what your house is worth and kind of a strategy on how to take advantage of the market. Oh, that'd be great. So that's going to happen less than probably 0.25% of the time. So when you capture them and you put them in your master list and you find the missing information and move them to that next step, that's when you guys are going to start capitalizing on the database. All right, so there's 3 levels of the millionaire. The most important aspect of the database is the relationship that they build with the people inside of it. And it helps you transition through these 3 levels. What's the essential stuff that's in the database? What's the effective stuff in the database? And what's the exceptional stuff that's in the database, right? So I'm going to go through this and then you guys, if you have any questions, this will be the time to jump in after this slide, after this, these 3 things. So here's something. When it talks about, oh, I forgot to put my phone on do not disturb, so it didn't bother anybody who doesn't like to hear beeps in the background. So here's the other thing, guys. I don't try to be something that I'm not. I'm a real person. This is my real war room. My desk isn't always clean. In fact, Gary Keller's such a nice guy. One time he said, if your desk is clean all the time, you may not be stretching out to your, where you need leverage. If your desk is clean all the time and too organized, that's the time to get busy and blow your business up and get stacks of paper everywhere. Now, I would like to use that as an excuse to keep my office like that all the time, but it is a distraction. It's a negative energy. So getting through the stacks and keeping everything organized is awesome feeling. But it just made me feel good to know, yeah, that's why my office is messy, because I'm maxing out my leverage before I bring on another expense. He talks about red light, green light, right? So once you get stretched so thin, you might be I told you guys I do this. When I miss 2 listing appointments because I was unorganized or my schedule was too full, not really a whole lot of unorganization. I call it organized chaos. But when I miss 2 listing appointments because they had to wait too long, that's when I can plug in another showing agent or a buyer's agent to free up my schedule. Or when I'm the only listing agent and I'm missing listings, then it's time to bring in a listing partner and divvy that out. So that's how you grow through your business models. But here's the thing. On your database, the essential stuff, name, contact info, past business, at-will communication. Guys, here's the thing. What do we sell? What do real estate agents sell? What's the physical thing that we sell? Anybody want to jump in?
Properties.
Homes.
Properties and homes, right?
Yeah.
So here's the cool thing about Command. It tells you the health of your database. Do you know how many people have 90% or higher? There's no address with the contact records. They have a database of email addresses, right? Think about it. And this is the another filter I want you to put the database under. We sell real estate, right? Now we create relationships and trust so that the person in that house will call us to help them sell it. What if your database, and I'm just asking a question, what if your database was every address in your community and your job is to go fill in the missing person that occupies that property at this time? What if, because we sell real estate, and Gary says this, I've heard him say it many times, it's like, you guys sell real estate, you don't even have addresses in your database. Something doesn't connect there, right? He may not say it exactly like that, but he might say it a little stronger. But what if your database is the address, is everything about every house in your market, and what you're doing is creating the relationship with the person that occupies it at that time. Wow, just think about it, right? I'm just saying, so address and phone number are my critical things that must go in the database. I don't care if I have an email address, because when they call me to do business with me, whenever I get top of mind and they call me, I'm going to get their email address. We have electronic signatures. We have to get it, but I'm not going to rely on the email to create that relationship. That makes sense. I'll pause for a second. Anybody have any questions about that?
Yes, Brad, I'm sorry. How do you get the addresses from people? Like,
Awesome.
is it getting phone number and email? It's easy, but when it comes to address, I think it's kind of uncomfortable. How do you do that?
So anybody else struggling with the same thing? I know they are. I know they are, Joseph. So here's the thing. You're moving out of one world and you're trying to get into another world. And when I say world, the entire real estate industry teaches us to go get the next deal, pick up the phone and call people, get people through open houses, talking to strangers, not Mets. So what your brain is kind of struggling with is, how do I get somebody's address? It means you haven't really connected with them yet. Just hear what I'm saying. I'm not saying you didn't have a connection, but you're not really connecting yet, and you're really not in relationship. How many of your friends, and I'm not talking even just best friends, I'm talking about in your community, if you go out in the marketplace a little every so often, or you go over to a friend's house, you got some other friends that show up. I mean, how many of these people that you see a few times a year in your community do you not know where they live? Right? So you're close friends. So when you get into relationship with them, you can get their address very simply in the conversation without even asking. That's one way. There's also a second way. And this is where I'm going to give you all permission to be creeper dude. Internet creeper dude. Fastpeoplesearch.com. Fastpeoplesearch.com. Here's your sources: Google, Facebook, fastpeoplesearch.com, right? And then check your cell phone, right? And check your email. Because if it is somebody that you've crossed paths with in the past before you took this version of Ignite and really understood relationships and database, they may already be in your stuff somewhere. And you know what people put? Like a lot of people, when they send emails, you know what's at the bottom of their email? It's called a signature. What's usually in a signature?
Address.
Phone number, address, could be any of that stuff, right? Facebook, your Facebook friends list, or just go to Facebook, put their name in, and go to the About section. About 40% of the time under About, they say where they live. Some of them even put their address. Some of them put their cell phone in there. I mean, some of them do that. So it's about piecing all those together. That's why I suggest having a master list written down in a spiral notebook, that you are opening that up to see who's missing a phone number and an address. Those are my two critical things. And if I don't have a phone number or address, they're not going to be one of my connects today. And if I don't have it, and I don't have any, where I've got addresses and phone numbers, then I'm going to do research time and start going through my list and adding in a phone number and an address of what I can find. Doesn't even matter if the address is correct. The phone number will matter, because you'll dial the number and you'll get that beep, 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 right? So you're going to have to find a phone number. Fast People Search will list out every number they've ever had. So let's just say, for example, that you're creating relationships and doing your connection with for sale by owners. So remember when I said earlier, we're bringing them from the outer ring where we got a 50-to-1 ratio, and we want to meet them and connect with them and get them to a 12-to-2 ratio. And let's just say you're working off a list of FSBOs and expireds, because if you were brand new to the market, you came from California to New Jersey, there's a really good chance you know nobody there, right? You got to start with FSBOs and expireds, and we're talking about that today too. So you got to start there. So that's where you're going to use Fast People Search. You're going to call every number. You're going to get 5 beep, 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 beeps, and then you might get another one. You might not find their phone number. We don't know. That's when you just do a little more research. So here, the answer to the question is, do the research and find it first. You have tax records, so most people are listed in the tax records. Like I just put in part of their last name with an asterisk behind it in our MLS, and I know what city they're in, so I'll fill that in, and then I hit search, and I see what addresses pull up for, you know, Scott in New Jersey, right, or whatever it might be. And you might get 10, but usually you can decipher through that and figure out which one is theirs. And if they're on the tax records, the address is probably right. But it gives you a reason in the conversation to go, oh, so are you still over in Winnebago? And they'll be, oh no, we moved from there. Really? Where'd you move to? Oh, we're over in, and the conversation begins. So it does start with the phone call, and make sure you're connecting. Make sure you have a conversation, and just kind of, you'll get masterful at working it into the conversation. Let's go through the next couple, and I'll open it back up for questions after that. Hopefully did that help?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Don't get too hung up on it. Just the goal is to get the address. And if you flat out have to ask, what's your address, then do it. But you're going to get masterful to where you do not have to do that. All right. What makes the database effective is it helps you obtain permission to stay in touch. Actually, I'm going to say that a little different. All the drip plans, like when you create a campaign like the 8x8 and the 36 touch, here's what's happening. The phone call is the most critical piece. That's the relationship builder. The drip piece is in between, as long as it's not all email, because I'm telling you, if you just blast out all emails, you'll get whitelisted. You're just getting highlighted in a chunk of emails and deleted, so they're not even seeing it. But if you mix up the mediums, they're going to catch one of them here or there. Just think of the content as your bridge to the next phone call, the bridge to get them to actually answer your call when you call, and not just get voicemail all the time with no return call, right? The personal touch for a social media touch or a text message, that the stuff in between is just that bridge for them to see your name, or if you have a logo, or if you have a brand or whatever, they're just seeing it. They might see it, they might not see it. I don't care. I don't care if they open up one letter I mail out. The Korn Team logo is on the outside of that envelope, and that's the only thing I want them to see before they throw it away, right? I don't care if they read it or not. Even if they open up the letter, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, nobody's reading our crap. Nobody. I'm gonna send you crap, and I'll probably get about 25% of you to actually read through some of it. And remember how I told you, be careful, because the stuff I'm sending you is what I consider total crap, right? It sells 100 homes a year, and it makes my phone ring every single day. But when you read it, you'll be like, oh, what? 50 things to do with Alberto VO5. Seriously, he doesn't send that out, does he? Nobody's reading it. I don't care. When you saw the title, you laughed a little bit and went, what the heck? That's all I needed. That kept me top of mind. Boy, that Brad Korn is very corny, whatever it is. You guys are getting the point, right? So it allows you to keep track of everything and be effective when you're following up with people. The only thing I'm going to say a little different about the database today, because there's a conversation that still kind of overlays what I really want you to get out of the database. And we're going to talk about categories and tagging and all that other stuff. I want you guys to try and get out of the bulk thinking. Bulk thinking, meaning going in and pulling up a group of people so I can find a listing in this group of people today, or pulling up a group of people to do this, or searching by this and searching by that. Well, we'll talk about categories in a minute. The database helps you categorize them. Keep it simple. Okay, I'm going to cover that in more detail here in a minute. So it just allows you to collect that personal information. So if you're looking in your book, a lead, remember we talked about a lead is really kind of like a suspect, and that's the 19 touch. You want quarterly phone calls. The phone call is the most critical part. Remember, in an internet lead, think about the different types of ways your phone call might show up. If it's an internet lead, I probably need to call them every day for the next 3 or 4 days if I have not gotten them on the phone yet, right? If it's an expired, I need to call them every day for the next 5 days before they relist with their agent. If it's a for sale by owner, I probably just need to call them every Monday and see if they had an open house this Sunday and how it went, right? Whatever it might be, you're going to have different amounts of calls for different types of leads, but those leads that are just, remember, 98% of them aren't doing anything and expired in a FISBO wanted to sell. Those are a little different plan. Everybody else, don't be hammering some total stranger with just a ton of real estate stuff when 98% of them aren't moving right now. But that phone call every 3 months helps them. After about 2 or 3 or 4 phone calls, you're all of a sudden moving out of the stranger salesman mode into somebody they recognize, and you're moving up top of mind. They're still not thinking about you every day, but the drip pieces are helping connect. And then for the people that you know, it's that 36 touch. Here, right in your book, where if you guys are looking at your book, and I've got the slide thing print out, so I don't have what page it's on. Anybody want to shout out what page you're putting in the chat of your book? The context, the 36 to convert, it says 4 touches, 4 phone calls, right? So basically, if I started a 36 touch today, my first phone call is either going to be right now, but usually if you just finished on an 8x8, you just had a phone call on week 8. So when I'm designing that plan, my first phone call, if it's 4 divided by 12, is every 3 months. Don't make this more difficult than it is. So I have a call at 3 months, at 6 months, at 9 months, and 1 year. And then at the end of that plan is, by the way, the plan's ended. You better start another one now, or you'll never ever talk to this person again, unless it's by random choice, right? So with that, then I start the 36 touch all over again. And then I'm going to talk to them again 3 months later, and so on. Add in the middle. So at the month and a half point, a touch, a social media touch, or a personal text, not automated, right? You can actually have 8 touches, 4 phone calls, and 4 like move online, like do a Facebook direct message or a text message, something about what's going on. And that helps you stay in touch with them, right? That helps you remember who they are. Okay. So let's see. And then the last thing on exceptional is to automate custom communication built around triggers. So what makes you take your level of service to an exceptional level of service and a predictable level of service is one of the things that we do when we sell real estate is, you know, if you're new, you go all out, you roll out the red carpet, you do all the cool little things. You go to a seminar today and somebody talks about, you know, we send a cup of a coffee cup filled with chocolate and a balloon to their work the day they get their contract accepted. It's like, dude, that's easy. That's awesome. So you do it, right? And you just do it because you just heard it. They refer somebody to you. They're like, oh my gosh, Scott was amazing. You definitely need to use him as a realtor. I mean, he even sent us a coffee cup with chocolates to our work. I've never had a realtor do that before. Now, Scott gets the referral, but he's just winging it. He doesn't have a system in place. He's not using the database, doesn't have the campaigns to run through the process where on day 1 after the acceptance, send a coffee cup with chocolates and a balloon to their work, right? And if that's the case, then in my system somewhere, we had a trigger that said, find out what their work address is, right? So it's all built into the system so that as we're going through, we got this perfect, exceptional level of service. So they refer them. You help them. You did good. I mean, got them closed, found them a good house, all that stuff. But here's the conversation that we didn't hear happen. They went back to their friend, bump into him somewhere along the way. We got our house. Oh, great. It's like, yeah, but I'm not sure if Scott liked this as much as he did you. What? That doesn't sound like Scott at all. It's like, yeah, no, we didn't get any coffee cup with chocolates and a balloon at work. So we didn't really get anything. We haven't heard from him since we moved in. It's just a little different. I mean, he was great and all, but so the point I'm making is the database and these campaigns and action plans. How many of you did I just scare the crap out of you? Scared the crap out of me enough that I knew I was walking past people at the grocery store that I know and I knew and that I had real estate conversations with a year ago. And I just walked right past them. And they were like, hey, there's Brad. Oh, there's Brad. I mean, he didn't even look at us. He didn't even acknowledge us. That was what scared the heck out of me into starting this database, feeding the people every day, putting the picture in the database so I knew who they were when I saw them out in the community, because I'm a high eye. I'm out everywhere. So hopefully I made my point there. And like I said, I will open it up. I actually wanted to leave it one thing. Add 5 a day, 5 a day, 5 a day, 5 a day. You are bumping into 5 people a day. Even if it's COVID full on, you are talking to 5 people a day, having two-way conversations with at least 5 people a day. You're on webinars. Remember we talked about on Monday. You're on webinars and trainings, and there's other realtors from around the country or just outside of your area. One of you were saying, and I don't remember who it was, but they said something about marketing to the agents an hour away for your area, right? So there, you are with people every single day. Move into conversations. When I do family reunion or mega camp virtually, oh my gosh, I am going through the roster list, and anybody I recognize their picture or their name, I'm sending them a message going, hey, what's up? As if I were like just bumped into them in the hallway. And then I'm making sure I add their name to my master list so I can make sure they're in my database already. And if they're not, I'm going to cross-reference their address and find it and get them on there, as I did with all of you. And I'm still working through the list. So not all of you have received anything yet. Doesn't mean I don't like you. It means I'm taking it one person at a time. I want to know each of you that are in this class and showing up, right? All right, so any questions on that stuff? Okay, so why use the database? Avoid the today trap and have a predictable ROI. Here's what I want to say on this. It is the size of your database is your bank account. Your database is a bank vault. It is a bank vault. Every name in your database, they're moving, right? And for you guys, every name that moves is probably worth about $10,000, right? So think of every single name in your database as a stack of money or a bill in a stack of money in your vault if you were a bank owner. The last thing, the craziest thing that I just hear all the time when I'm coaching top real estate agents is that we're going to hire an assistant to come in and clean up our database, right? So $10 an hour, $15 an hour, they're going to go in the database and clean it up. Let me give you an analogy of what that is. It's like a bank owner just took their minimum wage person that they just hired, $15 an hour, and they said, hey, here's the combination to the bank vault. Could you go back there? Like I noticed some of the bands snapped off of some of the bills and a couple of them were spilling over on the shelf and stuff like that. So could you just go back there today, go in there, clean that place up, put everything back in the bands, stacks of $100 bills, and you're going to let somebody just go back there and clean it up? Guys, your database is the most critical piece of your business. And when we talk about the today trap and the predictable ROI, here's the predictable ROI. Remember we said 100 people moving every 10 years is 10 people are moving this year. Divide that by 12 and it's almost one person a month. So there you could call 100 people and get no appointments because only 10 of them are moving this year and only one of them know they're moving in the next month or two. So it doesn't even get one a month, right? And vice versa, or not even vice versa, and 1,000 people a day. If you added 5 people a day, 5 days a week, 25 people a week, 100 people a month for 12 months, that's 1,200 people. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt and you blew it a couple of months, right? So there's 200 people you didn't get in there. And they're moving every 10 years. That's 100 sales a year if you messed it up, right? So that allows you to get that pipeline and that predictable business, meaning if you have 1,000 people in your database, you're supposed to be closing 100 deals a year. You can't have 1,000 people in your database and close 20 or 30 deals a year. You can't. What's happening is you don't have a system to stay in touch with them, or you would be closing 50, 60 and know you're missing 10 or 20 or 30. I know exactly how much business I'm missing every year, right? So the database is your business. How many of you have a little more urgency on this database now? Is this hitting home for you? Okay, great. All right, so Oh, and the today trap, let me not forget about that because we still do have an outer ring. The inner ring takes time. I'm going to talk about that in a second. The outer ring is still important to call the FSBOs and expireds. What's differently important for you guys in this round of Ignite is that you're connecting with them so you can move them into the inner ring, but they're still going to get your 19 touches all throughout that time until you can get them on the phone. So you still have that business that you got to get today because the pipeline business, 1,000 people, 100 of them are moving. I got to talk to all 1,000 of them to figure out which are the 8 or 9 that are moving this month. That's 8 or 9 closings a month, guys. 8 or 9 closings a month. So walk the walk, talk the talk. I mean, there is my closing calendar for this month, right? There's about 9 closings on there. If I have any less than that, it means I didn't work. I didn't call anybody in my database and I didn't work for months. Because what I figured out is I can totally just not do anything for 1 year and that pipeline will keep kicking business out. But it took 20 years to build that pipeline to where it was 100. It actually took 5 years to build it to where it was 100 sales a year. And now it just kicks it out automatically, right? So avoid that today trap, because if you don't feed it and connect with them now, then you're going to have to always, always, always stay on the hamster wheel to find today's business, today's business, today's business, right? So Dave, one of the MAPS coaches that does his cold calling scripts and stuff, and he calls every single day. I don't know about you guys, but when you watch that video, if you've been through Bold, how many of you get excited about that as your lifestyle for the rest of your career, every day for 4 hours calling strangers? Sorry. Yuck. Yes, it works. You still need that business, but it's more fun to talk to people you know, like, and trust, and you don't even have to talk about real estate, and they know you're in real estate because you're following a plan. All right. Point made, I hope. 2 types of business, today and tomorrow's. Without a database, your business, you're only building today's business and you'll have to stay on that hamster wheel forever. All right, let's see what we got. We got about 10 minutes. Good deal. All right, so here's the database. There's 100 people in your database. Out of that, out of the 100, 65 are looking to be homeowners. So 35 are renters, whatever. Just slice off a portion of that and just say they're not in the position to even buy a house. Now, a lot of times we say they're moving every 10 years. That's true. Some of them are renters. So let's just, these are right based off of the new MREA models. So 65 of them are actually looking to be homeowners. Guys, this is really critical. If you need to like grab these slides, these are the slides I want you to keep in front of you or remember from today. And out of the 65, 58 of those people are not in the market right now. The remaining 7 people are your today's business, which isn't bad, 7 people. However, some of those people are already working with agents and you got to know who those 7 people are. So really your today business is reliant on you finding those 7 people and hoping they don't know somebody, or if you're new into real estate, that they don't know somebody who knows more than you do because you're inexperienced and they got a friend that's a top agent, whatever it might be, right? So that cuts down like your odds on how many you're going to get. So here's what I want to tell you about this. You are going to naturally stay in touch with about 10% of everyone you meet from this day forward. That's just natural. If you really like want to have an argument about, I am so great at follow-up. I've had coaching clients. Oh, they are the best at follow-up. They're still, if you were the best, top 1, 2, or 3% of all follow-uppers in the world, you're keeping in touch with 20% of your database naturally. So when I coach, I study. When I study, I'm looking at numbers in database. So I'm looking at how many closings are happening. I'm looking at how many people they're talking to. Naturally, you're only going to get about 10% of your database, which is why you're only closing 1 or 2 a month, because out of those 10, maybe 1 is moving, right? It's 10%. That is on our actual next one. So keep in front of 100% of, if you want a 100% conversion rate from everybody you meet from this day forward, they absolutely go on a smart plan. They go on the 8x8 smart plan and then the 36 touch smart plan, and you have your phone calls built into it. And over the next 10 years, you can have 100% conversion rate. 100%. Now we're talking 10 years. If you did 1,200 people a year, 5 people a day, and this was your drive, like this is it. This is all you really need, right? You don't need to know experience, any of that stuff, because once you're closing 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 closings a month, you're now masterful at contracts. You're masterful at negotiating. You're finding the scripts that you need to do that along the way. Now you're a master real estate agent, right? And it all came from just staying in touch with your database and getting 100% conversion rate. But the cool thing is you could get 50% conversion rate. If you did 1,200 people a year, we already know where that, everybody know where that number came from, right? 1,200 people is 5 a day, 5 days a week, forever. If I did that in 5 years, I've got 6,000 people in my database. That is over 600 transactions that are happening. Guys, we're not even counting referrals. That's just the people that are moving out of those 6,000 people. In 10 years, you'll have 12,000 people in your database. 1,200 transactions a year is 100 transactions a month. Don't worry about how you're going to handle it. You'll figure out how to handle it. You just got to plug and stay in touch. And as you get past 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, guys, when you're really connected with your database and you did it hardcore for the first 2, 3, 4 years, and they become a client, you don't have to call them that often anymore. You are connected. You're their go-to person. By the time they buy a second house from you, would never use anybody else, you can still have them on the plan and you can stay in touch with them, but you might have my 5 to 10 year follow-up 36 touch, which is just 2 calls a year. And then give 2 calls to somebody on your team, like your assistant or whatever. You start moving in your buyer's agent or your lead listing specialist. So you have a couple a year, they have a couple a year. Now the transition of the relationship's happening, so you can go to 7th level and step out of your business. It's a growth pattern. And all it takes is 5 a day, 5 a day, 5 a day. Okay. All right, let's see here. So this 10-to-1 ratio, 14-to-1, it says for every dollar that you invest in your database, the activities expect at least $14. So basically all this conversion stuff is saying 10-to-1 is 1%. That's what you're going to do if you're just marketing to the outer ring. There are really, the numbers do show about a 2 to 3% conversion rate. But guys, there's so many classes out there and so many top agents that have tracked all this down, and they know, we know every lead costs us $50. Well, and it's true. The numbers are real, right? So what's it worth to make $10,000? It's going to cost you $50 per lead to make $10,000. Great return. However, when you're new and you just need the next deal, and you only have 7 to work from, and you're hoping to find those 7 that we used earlier, and you got to spend $50 on every lead to try and find those 7, you can be upside down pretty quick. Buying leads is not a great way to run a business. Now, when I'm so maxed out, if I'm closing 100 transactions a month, and I have a team of 20 people, and I want them all doing 100 transactions a month, that's 1,000 transactions a month. If we're all doing 100 transactions a month, we're going to buy some more leads and keep funneling it in, because now we've mastered the relationship. Anybody we can get on the phone, we will have them in our database, and we know that's going to be worth another 100 at 200 a month for everybody on the team 10 years from now, right? I hope you're following my math and stuff, but don't get swallowed up in all the conversion rates. There's one number that you need to remember. Does anybody know what that number could possibly be that I'm thinking of? 5.
5.
5 a day, 5 a day, 5 a day, right? Okay. So here's the cool thing. Take advantage of the predictable ROI. That's what we've just been talking about all day today. It is the lowest lead cost possible. The cheapest customer acquisition is the people that already know you, like you, and trust you. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to come up with the great headline. You don't have to come come up with the call to action and then invest in the postmarking and mailing and 10 years of doing it. You know, if you're going to mail a postcard to a neighborhood and market to a neighborhood, right? We're talking about Scott shared circle prospecting, right? So if I'm going to circle prospect in a neighborhood, mailing a postcard, I have to mail every single month forever. If I mail for 3 months or 4 months and I'm not really getting anything out of it, which you're not going to, right? You're not going to get a ton in 3 or 4 months, and then you quit, you just send me your money, okay? Send me your money and I'll coach you. Don't mail the postcards. If you're going to commit to do it for the next 5 years, you're going to get enough business to pay a return on that, maybe over 5 years, right? In 1 year, you probably won't get a return. So why don't you take that money and put it somewhere, or not spend it and invest it in better follow-up systems and whatever it might be, where you can get a bigger return, a 12-2 return versus a 50-1 return, right? But we do it because it's easy. It's the lowest conversion cost. When properly built and maintained, a database will actually end up producing its own leads. Guys, when I was at MAPS, I created a course called Make the Phone Ring Again. Make the phone ring. The phone just rings with business because it's coming in. The database is managing the business. I'm just doing what the system tells me to do every day, which today happens to be a phone call. A month and a half from now, today, my job is going to be go post something on social media. What happened in between? Heck, I don't know. The system did it. It sent an email here. A letter went to the printer. Somebody put it in an envelope. Might have even been me, but it went in an envelope and it mailed. And then all I knew was the 2 things I needed to do over the next 3 months was, one was a phone call and one was a social media touch. And the system told me when to do it. And it pays for itself like so many times over. So your database the cost of a database is like absolutely irrelevant when you got systems. All right, so guys, develop your database. You know, the money intensive is staying in touch with it. It's kind of really time intense too, but getting out of all emails, adding in some mail, doing housewarming or like client appreciation parties, things like that do cost money. But there's passive income because you're packing the pipeline, right? So it's more of a long-term result. That bottom thing there where it says time intensive, proactive, and immediate results is looking for that new business. So always keep that one layer in there, your relationship layer. But for now, you still got to have sales. So you can't wait long-term to see the results of this. Long-term though, when you're doing your reconnect plan and you're really reaching through your database, going A to Z and just reconnecting, it's going to produce about 2 to 3 sales within the first 30 days. You're going to at least find one. I have never had anybody who has actually done the 5 a day, actually wrote the notes, and then called them at week 4 and called them at week 8. Not one person that has actually followed the plan has not called me back and said, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe it. I picked up 2 deals I know I wouldn't have gotten had I not done this, started this 30 days ago or 60 days ago. They all get results. Now, the person that does it for the first few days and they're excited, and then they get swamped or busy and fall behind and didn't add anybody today, somehow that turns into tomorrow. If you're lucky, you wake up the next day and go, oh my gosh, I've got to get back on. I remember Brad saying, if I get knocked off track, it'll be 6 months down the road before you realize you haven't added anybody. So you get back on and you go, but you're still busy and you're trying to fight with it. And so you get a 5 in today, you get 3 tomorrow, and then it's like something else explodes and you got to save the contract so you don't add anybody for the next 3 days because you're saving the deal, right? And then it's 6 months later, you see Ignite start up again and you're like, oh, I did it. You know, we all do it, right? All right, so let's see here as we kind of bring this to a wrap. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on tags. Unless you guys are all putting in 5 a day, every day, you're writing the notes, don't worry about tags. Tags are only important for one thing. If I need a group of people for something particular. So when you start a smart plan by adding 5 people a day, the database is going to keep you in touch with them. You don't need to search for anybody in bulk. You don't quit doing bulk. That's that bulk overlay that's always there. But I did today specifically something to show you guys why you would have a tag. There's a tag I pulled up today. Keller Williams. I think it was Keller Williams and something else. Yeah, it was just Keller Williams. So anybody in my database that is a Keller Williams agent got an email today. Some of you got an email from me today about mega camp or meeting in Austin. Yes? Yep. I heard, I saw mics off, but I saw yeses.
No.
So, okay, so you're just not in there yet. Hang tight. Not that I don't like you. I'm just one guy and I want to know everybody, right? So some of you, half of this group is in there already, and you got tagged in my database under Keller Williams because you filled out that link. And some of you are still sitting in my hopper. I'm getting through it, but I don't just select all and say mass and put everybody on this plan, because that I have no relationship with you. I wouldn't know you any differently from anybody else that's teaching a class, right? I want to know each of you because I want to know your production. I want to know how you do as you go through Ignite. I'm going to know how many times you took Ignite. I'm going to know all that, not to do anything other than just know, so that when you start having success, you and I are like all of a sudden getting even a better relationship. But here's the point. So I have personal, you guys are going to get letters that I send out, like, you know, my resume letter I talked about, whatever it might be, a phone call is going to pop up. And I don't do as many phone calls with realtors. I don't call realtors 4 times a year. You don't have to. They don't have people come. You guys don't have people come in Kansas City, but maybe once every 5 years or maybe once every 3 years. So as long as I create a relationship, which I'm doing that by sharing my drip plan with you, and you are moving me top of mind. And when you think of Kansas City, Brad Korn's the first guy you think of. I've already done what I need to do, right? But I have your picture and I know you and all that stuff. Today I pulled up a bulk because mega camp's coming up. We're all going to Austin, and I want to see as many people that I know that are in my database as possible. That's the only reason I have a tag for Keller Williams. I don't just pull up Keller Williams and mass market to them, or pull up this or that. So if you're marketing to a neighborhood and all of a sudden the neighborhood's doing some, you know, off the wall, you know, parade for something, then that's when you would pull your group up. So don't get hung up on tags and all that stuff yet. The most critical tags that you need to have right now are prospective buyers, prospective sellers, active buyers, and active sellers. Those are the most critical ones, and the prospect ones for sure, because when you're coming in and you're like, oh, I didn't do that master list yet, I haven't taken my Facebook friends list off yet, I haven't added my 5 people today, go to the database and search for prospective buyers and go call them and see if they want to go look at a house. Call prospective sellers and see if they want to meet to see what the value of their home is now. So now you're back out in that outer ring again, working on the Mets. But this is kind of what Command looks like. Guys, Command, I want you to do that in-house. This is like a 4-hour course that we do in like an hour. And you would not get near, I don't think you'd get nearly what you're getting right now if we took 4 hours. So we've already talked this to death on the 19 touch and the 36 touch. So build a culture around your testimonial and reviews. When you're talking to people, so send out your reviews. Like as one of your drip pieces, it could be your reviews on Google, just a screenshot, just send it, you know, and nothing else in there. Don't say, oh, I'm great or anything like that. Just say, hey, just was on Google and saw the reviews. Or if there's a testimonial, that always is good for people to see that that are not moving. The 98% that are not moving are talking to people out in the field or out in the public that are moving. And if they saw your reviews and they saw testimonials, you're building referrals. So that can definitely be a drip piece, right? And then regular updates to prune your database. They say prune, but what I do is I update my information. If I can't get a hold of them, then they've probably moved and I've lost touch with them. I hate deleting anybody out of my database. Now, internet leads are real easy to delete out of the database, or I just put them on a forever email drip plan. They never show up on my campaign or action plan for an item to do. After I've made 5, 6, 7 attempts to get a hold of them, they never answered the phone, never returned any of my calls, never returned my emails. Why not throw them on a monthly email drip plan that's built into Command? forget about them. Quit spending any energy on them. They'll either call you or you're probably never going to get a hold of them anyway. So that is our day to day. Anybody want to throw out any ahas or anything extraordinary that you might have got out of today? Was today good? You know, let me know.
The thing that I get, Brad, is that before you do any of the plans and you start to drip them with emails and whatever, you have to make that connection on the phone. You have to talk to them. You have to get that, you know, here's my voice, here's your voice, and make that first connection. Because otherwise they're like, who's this guy? Why is he sending me this stuff?
Yep, absolutely. You nailed it. And that comes with the master list. And you feed off the master list is your lead generation time. And really, you're not generating leads, you're connecting so that you can build your pipeline. And the lead generation part is when 1% of them say, it's kind of weird you called us today, Scott. We're actually thinking about moving. My husband just said something last night. Great. Well, I'm glad I called today then. And when can we meet? Right? Anybody else have anything overwhelmingly awesome that you got out of today? All right. We are just a couple minutes over. So congratulations, you guys. You made it through another week. We are only 25% of the way through with your time from me. If you guys are getting anything out of this and you're ever in the office or you're talking to any agents in the office, plug them in. Plug them in. You guys will not cross paths. Nobody's going to have a duplicate database. So you guys, there's enough business that your 5 offices alone could take over New Jersey, and you won't even hardly bump into each other. So have a great day, guys, and we'll see you on Monday back at 11 Eastern.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Brad.
Brad. It was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.